Very few names grace the halls of psychology like William James. It was his birthday last week, and he was a person instrumental in establishing Harvard's psychology department. He oversaw Harvard's first doctorate in psychology earned by Stanley Hall, who, as I'm sure all of you are aware, was the first president of the APA. Stanley Hall was also the guy who invited Freud and Jung to speak at Clark University. In my experience, my bachelor's, master's, MPhil teachers most likely never opened up and read any of James' works, which is a real pity. Who was William James and why should we read him? Well, William James made some fundamental contributions to Western psychology and philosophy very early on. And these included writings on space perception, his views on emotion, his views on instinct, his conception of habit as the basic principle of mental organization, his use of materials drawn from the pathological side of mental life to illuminate the normal, his psychology of self, which eventually was used by, I'm sure you've heard of Maslow, for Maslow's concept of self-actualization. So he got that from James. The manner in which he wrote about memory in terms of stages, the importance that he gave to inhibition in behavior, his writings on consciousness, the transitory and the mystical. All of this is James. So you probably carry James's torch even before the flame ignites within you. Meaning, without your knowledge, he probably pulls the strings of your understanding, especially if you're in therapy or if you're a therapist. Take, for example, the reels that young and old influencers and gurus make that say, don't wait until you feel better to go to the gym. Go to the gym and you'll feel better. In short, act as if. So that's James. My James's pilgrimage began 6 months ago after I'd spent 6 months with Peter Gay's Sigmund Freud before that. And I had spent another 6 months with Daniel Todz's Ivan Pavlov. In this book, Robert Richardson, the biographer, won the Bancroft Prize for it. And this is a prize that has been generally considered to be amongst the most prestigious awards in the field of American history writing. There were parts of this narration that I didn't quite like as much as my previous two books, but the person he chose to write on was not an easy person to write about. So when we practice evidence-based therapy, we are often taught modules, and these are usually fixed within certain parameters, but more often than not, they are filtered down versions of something profound and original. Just like in the game of Chinese whispers, there's an original philosophy which gets morphed inevitably into something else by someone else. This gets further filtered down and so on. And this narrative sort of twists and turns through the corridors of individual perception and biases and leaves very little room for improvisations because we've learned modules by heart. And we don't know the deeper, more extensive underlying philosophy. How are you going to get insights into your clients if you only know the technology like a behavioral training or retraining, but know very little about what lies underneath or below? So for me, I need to really know, like in Indian music, my notes, the scales, the melodic phases, the ornaments, because it gives me ample room for improvisation and creativity with clients. And therapy clients then have these aha experience, moments of beauty and realization as a result. Firstly, reading James and other much older philosophers, both Eastern and Western like him, gives us context. As a therapist, remember that we are much more we are as much artists as we are scientists. Secondly, the philosophical and scientific stances taken by James or the Freudians or the behaviorists or so on and so forth are not ghostly apparitions that just come to them in some disembodied form. If you want to critically appraise any stance, a vital precursor to any true understanding of your subject, and psychology and psychotherapy in this case, is an exploration of personal narratives. One instance is my personal insight when I read that James had read the Upanishads, the Mahabharata, and had met twice with Swami Vivekananda. Then when you go on to read the rest of James's works, particularly his 1896 essay, The Will to Believe, you start guessing the intellectual influences that Eastern thought had on him. Apart from seeing actual long quotations from Vivekananda in his other book, that is, Varieties of Religious Experience. So now Vivekananda's description in his book Raj Yoga, that a method of meditation should be judged by how well it works for you, is exactly what James writes in the Varieties. He says religion is to be judged not by its roots but by its fruits. So both believed in the pluralism of religion. On matters of faith, of course, as you all know, I tend to align more with Christopher Hitchens, but nevertheless, I really enjoyed reading this, especially for my clients who might align more with this philosophy. I can go on and on for about an hour about William James, but I'm not going to. I highly recommend reading this biography and pairing it with this is the biography, and I think you should pair it with two of his volumes of his compiled works. All of them are here, and there are some papers as well. If you're like me, then you might also want to get hold of all his original articles and all the books that he read. I will be putting out a comprehensive list, and I know those of you who see my stories know that I have like these lists. In my MailChimp newsletter at some point in 2024 this year on my website, because it's easiest to put out free stuff there. I apologize, I'm down with the flu, and so I might have sounded a bit, stuffy in this video, but it's all homegrown, and I'm not going to re-record this, so I'm sure you'll forgive me. Cheers and a happy new year to all of you.